In this video, we'll cover the process for signing in, creating groups, and assignments if your school uses Google and you already have an OU Sync set up. If your district has already set up your Google OU Sync, that means you already have an account, really. So you can come to log in. So if you click log in, and then you can say log in with Google, and then log in with your school account. And now you're logged in. And the reason that worked is because your district has already set up the Google OU Sync. All right, so now you're gonna wanna get your students into Soundtrap. And before we directly bring them in, let's look at groups. So I'm gonna click on My Groups. So you might see some groups that are already here, but you might not. So you might need to create a group to get your students organized in the way that you like them. So you can say create group, and I'm gonna make a test group just for the sake of this exercise. Now that the group is created, let's add some students to it. The easiest way to do this is by using Google Classroom. You're gonna go to the EDU admin tab, click on import users, and then click on this Google Classroom button down here. This is gonna pull up your Google Classroom dialog. Go ahead and link up to your same Google account, and this is going to start pulling your students in. So let's say I've got my high school choir group from Google Classroom that's already organized. I've got my rosters in there, and I wanna go ahead and put it into a similar group in Soundtrap. I've already made this choir group, and I can select it. And now if I hit import, it will do some magic in the background and import my students into that group. And so what we're seeing here in the status is that these kids were actually already in this group, and this user is registered to another account. So this might have happened if a student came from a different district or had used their email to create a Soundtrap account without following the instructions, in which case you should contact support and we can pretty quickly bring that student back into your account and straighten it out for you. But looks like the rest of these are all good to go. Now that your students have access to Soundtrap and you've organized them into groups, let's talk about how to make an assignment. So to make an assignment, you need to have a project. It can be a blank project, but you'll need to have something started. So I'll just enter the studio really quick, and I'm gonna add a vocal track because I want them to do some basic audio recording, and I'll label the project, save it, and go back out to my profile page to turn this project into an assignment that I can share. So I've created a project, and now I can turn that into an assignment. So if I click on these three dots here on the right side, I can say create assignment, share assignment, and I can go ahead and choose Google Classroom. So I'll choose Google Classroom. So now in Google Classroom, I can choose which class I want to assign this to. I'm gonna go ahead and say choir, and I want to create an assignment. I can label this. Over here, you can control some of the usual classroom details of the assignment, including the groups, points, due date, and topic. I'll leave those blank for now though, and then I'll go ahead and hit assign. So now students in that group will see this posted in their class. And so here's what the assignment looks like in Classroom. And when students find the assignment here, they can click right on this link, and that will open up the Soundtrap Studio and create a new copy of that assignment and put it in the folder and add you as a collaborator on this assignment. And they're ready to go. When students are done with the project, if you want, you can have them download it and turn it in on Classroom, but that's not necessarily necessary because you will be a collaborator on Soundtrap and you could just log into the project and see and listen to what they've created. So one last thing to show you about how assignments work. I'm here on my Projects page. If I close my main folder, I can see I have other folders down here, and here's the assignment that I just made. As your students open this project from Google Classroom, that will start to populate this folder, and you'll see on each project that you and a student are collaborators on that project. So far, none of my students have opened this project yet, so I'm just seeing one copy of it, and I don't see them as a collaborator yet because no students have opened this project. Now you should know how to log in, create groups, import your students, and share assignments. To learn more, check out these great resources.